All right, guys, today we're actually going to keep factoring trinomials, but we're going to throw in one extra little curveball here. When the leading coefficient is negative, you have to factor out a negative from all the terms first. Okay, it just gets really messy when this front number is negative. So what you have to do when you see a negative sign is you have to actually divide every single piece by -1 first. Okay, and we call that factoring out a -1. Okay, so you're going to divide every single piece by -1. But that's really easy because dividing by a negative just means every sign is going to change. So this one now becomes positive x squared. This one now becomes positive x. And this one now becomes -72. Okay, and now that the negative is not in front anymore, right, of this trinomial, now you can factor this like we've been doing the last couple days. Okay, so let's recap that. We need to find two numbers that multiply. Now, when you're doing this now, you're only looking in the parentheses. Okay, so kind of like cover up the -1. Don't look at that. You're going to multiply to 1 times -72, so -72, but add to the middle term, which is +1 now. Okay, what are those numbers? Two numbers that multiply to -72 but add to 1 are actually 9 and -8. Okay, and then you guys know what to do. Since they're replacing the middle term, you give them both an x, and then we plug them into the middle. Okay, we're going to pretend, let's just forget about the -1 right now. Okay, just leave it off to the side. So now we rewrite it. It's x squared plus 9x minus 8x minus 72. Right? We plug it into the middle term, and now we can factor by grouping. Okay, so the first pair, I think we can only pull out a 1x. And if you pull out a 1x, you're left with x plus 9. I'm assuming you guys are good at this part by now. Now, what about these guys? Well, we definitely have to take out a negative, and 8 and 72 have a GCF of 8. So we're dividing both by -8. And if you do that, you get x plus 9, which we know is good because now that they both have an x plus 9, we get to take that out. And the remaining parenthesis is what's left over, the x minus the 8. Okay, the only thing then you guys have to do is remember that we really had a -1 out front, and this is now the answer. Okay, so pulling out the -1 just makes it a lot easier. Okay, same thing down here. If all the terms have a greatest common factor, you want to divide that out first. So look right from the start. 2, 4, and 6. What could we divide by right away? Don't they all divide by 2? So if you can divide them all by something right away, do that first. Okay, what's left? If you divide everything by 2, it makes the problem simpler. It's now 1x squared minus 2x minus 3. And now we can factor like normal. Okay, so to factor trinomial, we need our MA table. We need two numbers that multiply to 1 times -3 and then add to the middle, -2. So what are those two numbers? They got to multiply to -3 but add to -2. It's got to be -3 and 1, right? Okay, they're going into the middle term, so you give them both an x, and we rewrite it. So now we're at 1x squared minus 3x plus 1x minus 3. All right, and then we factor by grouping. Might have been nicer if we switched the order here, because then the 3's would be together. So if you want to, switch the order. If not, we can keep going. But sometimes it's nice to put them in the right spot so they match nicer with a partner, but it'll work either way. Okay, so these guys, they have a GCF of 1x, and if you divide out a 1x from both pieces, you're left with x minus 3. Now, these guys only have a 1 in common, nothing else. So if you divide them both by 1, it kind of like nothing changes, so you're still left with x minus 3. And that means we're doing something right, because if they have a common factor, then that comes out. And when you take that out, the leftovers are the other parenthesis, so x plus 1. The only thing you guys have to remember is, since you really took a 2 out in the beginning, you need to put a 2 on the outside. Kind of like this one, because you took out a negative 1 at the beginning, you just got to attach it at the end. But otherwise, the work is the same. And if you guys were to distribute this out, you would get back to where you started. All right, nice job. Pretty similar, except that one extra step. Thanks for watching.